it's the first week of another month, and that means it's time for another page for our little hanging frame here. This frame was from IKEA, and all the details were in January's video that I did, and I'll link that up in the corner there if you want to take a look if you haven't already watched it. And each month we've been picking a new inspirational word, and the word I've chosen for this month is hope. So I've got my little template here, so I know how big to cut my card, 3¼ inches by 5¼ inches. And I've got myself a piece of, this is just mixed media cardstock, and I've already punched a couple of holes in the top. We're going to be using a stencil. I'm going to do an emboss resist technique to create a nice background, and we're going to add a couple of embellishments and do a bit of stamping and things like that. So first thing I want to do is blend some Distress Oxide inks over my background, and to begin with I'm going to use squeezed lemonade and tumbled glass. We're going to be using another couple of colours in a bit, but to start with we're going to use these two. I'm just using a blending tool. I'm going to create a sort of oval shape with the squeezed lemonade. And then I'm going to fill in around the outside with the tumbled glass, and then just softly blend the two colours together where they meet. If you ever have any difficulty blending Distress Oxides or Distress inks, I do recommend using these tools. And also, you know, start off with a little bit of ink and gradually add more. It's always easier to add more. Obviously, once you've got it on there, you can't take it away. So just use a light touch until you've built up a colour that you want. And then where your two colours are joining, where you want to create a blend, go back in again and just soften that blend. So you'll end up with something like that. And what we need to do before we do our embossing is let that dry. You can, you know, put it to one side for a little while, just give it a chance to dry off. Use a heat tool. You need the ink to be dry because we're going to be using some clear embossing powder, and if there's still a lot of moisture in the background, your embossing powder is going to stick everywhere. So I've already done another one. I can put this to one side. This one that I did earlier is already completely dry. And what we're going to do next is pop our stencil. This one is a stencil from Visible Image. I really like it. There's quite a few of this type of design about. You know, it's like a starburst, a sunburst, sun rays, that sort of thing. And what I want to do is ink through it with some clear embossing ink. This is a Wow embossing pad. You could use something like Versamark. And then we're going to put some clear embossing powder. I've got a giant tub of this. This is a Stampendous one. This is just clear embossing powder. And that will then create a resist that we can add other ink over the top, and it'll leave it just the colours underneath showing through. Nice shine on it. So simplest thing to do, you can tape your stencil down if you need to, but this one, you know, I can hold it in place in the middle there. And I'm just going to ink through the stencil. And then just switch hands so I can get over to the other side. Then when I'm happy with the coverage I've got, I can just move my stencil out of the way. And I don't know if you can see there, if the light just catches it, we can see we've got the design. I'm just going to apply my clear embossing powder over the top. And tap off the excess. As you can see there, that's stuck nicely. I'll just move this out of the way so it doesn't blow everywhere. And I'm just going to hold this with a pair of tweezers and heat it with my heat tool. Now, once your embossing powder is all melted, and you'll tell it's all melted because it'll go completely clear and glossy, you just want to allow that to cool down for a moment, just so that it firms up. You don't want it to still be tacky or anything. And then we can go back in with some darker shades of ink. So this time I'm going to be using Fossilized Amber and Broken China. I mean, I've basically chosen these as they're a slightly darker shade to what we used originally, and it's just going to create some depth and a nice sort of illusion of sun rays and things like that. It's going to look really pretty. So where we have our squeezed lemonade in the middle, I'm going to blend the Fossilized Amber. And where we've got the tumbled glass around the outside, I'm going to blend the Broken China. I'm just going to take a bit of paper towel and begin to wipe away a little of the excess ink that's going to be sitting on our embossing powder. And then you can go back in how we did it in the first stage, just to soften that blend. And as you can see, that just adds sort of extra depth. We've got a nice sort of shine. The Distress Oxide causes like a milkiness in the embossing powder, which I really like. It's almost like a frosted glass effect, but you still see the shades of the yellow through the blue showing through it. It's a really nice effect. I want to add a little detail around the edge with a bit of stamping, just to sort of frame the piece. And this is a sky blue archival ink pad. It was out of a set of 4 mini ones. And this is just a little, it's a background stamp from Artful Days actually, with small sort of broken circles on it. Just want something that's fairly abstract, because it's there just to add a little extra definition, a bit of framing around the edge. And by using archival ink, that will actually dry on top of the embossing powder as well. And as you can see, again, it just starts adding an extra layer into that piece that we're doing. Now we need our word, hope, and for that I've used, this is one of the little Tim Holtz metal tokens with the word. I've got a small glass vial that's filled with some clear micro beads, and I've just attached the tag with a bit of hemp cord. Before I stick it on though, I want to add some wings, and these are the transparent wings from Tim Holtz from the New Ideology collection, and I want to just attach them in the back, and I'm going to use a little glue dot just to do that. And find the easiest way to do this is to tear one of the glue dots off the roll, press it down onto whatever we're sticking it onto, and then press that in place. You could use a glue gun to do this, but a double-sided tape. I just find these glue dots really quick and convenient. And I'm going to use another one to hold this in place actually on my piece. So in the same way as last time, just going to press the glue dot onto the back of there. And then just press it down onto our background. As always, I like to finish this off with some coordinating little ring reinforcers. And this is just a We Are Memory Keepers punch that punches out these little rings. You could use just some self-adhesive white ones, that you could colour them yourself, but I find this really nice that I can just cut some out of coordinating cardstock or scrapbooking papers and then just pop them in place. And there we've got our little finished card for this month. Really like it. It's got a nice sort of magical feel to it. Very simple technique that comes in really handy for all sorts of things. So all I need to do is add it into the frame and clear away my mess, and we'll be right back. And here we are with our finished frame. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, quick and easy one this week, but it's an interesting technique. If you're using just normal Distress inks, you don't get this milkiness, but by using the Distress Oxides you do, and it just creates a totally different effect, which is really, really nice and just sort of adds to that magical feel of this piece. So don't forget to check out there's a playlist for all of these that I'm doing each month, so check those out if you haven't seen them, and I shall be back again next week with another video. But for now, that's all. Bye.